In lesson 4.7, we're going to focus just on the part of the lesson that involves solution, x-intercept, and the zero. We're going to try to find the connections between these three terms. We've talked about solutions before, we've talked about x-intercepts before, so our new focus for the day is what a zero is and how we find it. The zero of a function is the value of x that makes the function equal 0. Replace f of x with 0 and solve for x to find. You might want to refer back to that later, so make sure you write that down. We'll go back to the most familiar part of that statement at the beginning, where we redefined what this lesson is going to be about, and that is finding solutions. And to find a solution, you solve something. And here we're going to solve this equation. And if you remember from chapter 2, to solve an equation, we first looked at the equation and decided whether it was a one-step, a two-step, or a multi-step. And this one, since it has a 2 and a 4 we have to get rid of, is a two-step. And when we two-step, we submit. And the 2 is a multiplier, the 4 is a subtractor. So SADMIP tells us to get rid of the subtracted term first, which we do by adding it to both sides. And when we do, we have 2x left on this side because the 4's are gone, and 0 plus 4 is 4. Now we need to get rid of the 2, which is multiplying, which we do by dividing. So we divide both sides, get rid of the 2 on the left. That leaves us x equals 2, because 4 divided by 2 is 2. That's our solution. Now we want to find the x-intercept of y equals 2x minus 4. Well, remember, when you want the x-intercept, we want y to be equal to 0, because on the x-axis all the y's are 0. So we're going to replace our y with 0. So we're going to solve the equation that is formed by letting y be 0. Well, once again, it's a two-step. 2 is a multiplier, 4 is a subtractor. Add 4 to both sides. We get 4. That leaves us 2x on this side because we got rid of the 4. And now we need to divide both sides by 2. X equals 2 is our x-intercept. And remember, if it's an x-intercept, the y is 0. So that gives us the point 2, 0. Now we're going to start with the new thing that we talked about so far, which is finding a 0. Well, to find a 0, it's the same thing as finding out where this line crosses the x-axis. So, as our hint showed us in the screen that told us what a 0 is, we're going to replace f of x with 0 and solve. You guessed it, we're going to get rid of the 2 that's multiplying and the 4 that's subtracting. To get rid of a subtractor, you add. And when you add 4 to 0, you get 4. And when we add the subtracted 4, it goes away. And we're left with 2x. And then we want to get rid of the 2. It's multiplying, so we divide. And we just discovered that the 0 of this function is 2. Did you notice anything in these last 3 screens? If you go back and look, this equation that we were asked to solve is the same equation we created when we let the y be 0 to find our x-intercept. And this equation, now in function notation, to find the 0, we replace the f of x with 0. So it shouldn't be surprising if we think back to the fact that we learned back when we talked about function notation that f of x equals y. So f of x and y are really the same thing. So what did you notice? The solution to 0 equals 2x minus 4, the x-intercept of y equals 2x minus 4, and the 0 of f of x equals 2x minus 4 are all three the same thing. And that's pretty much the moral of our story.